Simon, how's it going, man?
Good morning.
Hey, dude, how you doing?
Oh well, it's 8 p.m. over there, yeah, in Melbourne.
It is, yeah. Hang on one sec. I just got to
Yeah, man.
see if I can improve the lighting situation. One moment.
Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah, it's Friday night in Australia at the moment. They're in the future.
Look at this, all professional and shit.
Oh wow, professional man.
Cool, awesome.
He steals it from his wife's room. Hang on.
I think I might need to get one of those lights, Michael, as well.
Yeah, they're really good when they work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Technical issue.
Oh, good man. Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Beautiful.
That's pro.
Like I bought one.
Yeah.
G'day.
Well, g'day, man. Thanks for
I'm nearly there.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Hey.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining us,
Hang on,
man.
volume. Go talk, check. Sorry.
Everything perfect, man.
All right. Good ski. G'day.
Yeah,
How you doing? Who have I got? I got
Good,
Sean
man.
and I got Michael.
Yeah,
Hi.
so
Exactly.
there is a third guy in Argentina,
Mhm.
but I think because of the time difference, I think he's still asleep. So he might join us maybe with some what is it, yerba mate tea when he wakes up. But for the time being, it's just going to be the three of us. But yeah, thanks for talking to us, man. I really
That's all
appreciate
right.
your
No worries.
time, and
Yeah.
it's great to speak to another Australian. I'm in Europe at the moment. We're both in Hungary. Are you in Budapest at the moment, Michael?
No, in my house in the Balaton.
You're in Balaton, yeah. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday. And so yeah, really appreciate your time, man.
How did you end up there, Sean?
I've just been working online for the last 8-9 years as a writer journalist, and I came to Budapest 2 years ago, and I just loved this city. And so I just decided to stay and just rent an apartment and do all my work from over here.
Good for you.
But I was actually back in Australia last year from April to November during the lockdown. So
happy days.
How's it going now? Is it all back to normal?
I wouldn't say it's back to normal. We've been in and out. We were in. Well, not really. We had like a what our dickhead premier calls a snap lockdown for like 5 days to try and break the circuit. So and whatever that means. But there was that. But look, other than that, it's just just stupid rules. One day you can have 5 people at your house, the next day you can have 20. You don't have to wear a mask if you're standing there or sitting there, but you do if you're standing there right next to the person, and just all those fucking retarded rules that they come up with.
It doesn't make any sense at all, really.
No, it doesn't. But let's not go there, because we'll just spend an hour bitching. And
well,
quick, just before we start and stuff too. My teenage daughter is out and about at the moment, and there's a chance that she may call and need me to be Uber dad, as in pickup. So
yeah, no worries, man.
Just we might need to do like a half-hour pause if that happens, because she's not too far away, but she's far enough. But hopefully she's getting a lift home, so we should be cool.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah.
Rightio.
Yeah. It's kind of over here. We're still in lockdown. We're still in the same lockdowns that we had in Melbourne from April until October, where there's a curfew at 8 p.m. Since November, so about 3-4 months.
Wow.
So it's pretty fucked, and But anyway, yeah. Well, let's talk about music.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
Man, like I started listening to you guys when I was about 16 back in Melbourne, and I didn't know you guys were from Melbourne at the time. I think my friend from school gave me one of your CDs, and so it's quite cool to speak to you, man. Like all this time later, and you released a new album last year. So can you
Good
tell
time
me
to
about?
release an album, eh?
Yeah, I know. Like, so when did you record that? Was that 2019?
At the back end of 2019. So hang on. My daughter just messaged me, of course. So she's getting a lift. Happy days. We're good.
Woohoo.
All right. So back end of 2019, and it's been a really, really long time coming. So a lot of the tracks on Snuff, Tim wrote the music in like fucking 10 years ago, for a lot of those tracks. Except for the Peeler, which is Matt's track, which was a lot more recent. He only wrote that in like 2019 to throw into the mix. And I wouldn't say like completely that they were done and dusted, but like Tim had written like the core riffs basically like some time ago in the ABRAMELIN hiatus. And then, yeah, I suppose like once, I'll try not to backstory it too much and everything else too, and like keep it simple, and then we'll flesh out the shit as we get there.
Whatever you feel like it, man.
Yeah, because otherwise I'll go into like, what do you want, like a quick backstory on how we like got back together and all that shit?
Yeah,
all right, cool.
that'd be cool.
I'll try and condense it so it's not too full.
Okay.
So it was, yeah, we I think the last time we'd played was like 2004 or something like that, or 3. I don't remember what it was. Like we did the I think it was like the Midian tour with Cradle of Filth, and then we like did a couple of other sort of side shows after that, and then just finished for no particular reason. That like no one just like called anyone anymore, so it was like a really natural sort of organic break. And then during that time out, Tim had written like all of this new material, and I hadn't been to a metal gig for years, like super long time. I think I just had like this metal saturation time in my life. I'm just working in it for in the record industry and with the band and touring and this and that and everything else too, and it was just like full on. So I thought, nah, time out. And but then I did end up at a metal gig. I went and saw who was it? Behemoth and Goat Whore. And I ran into Tim, and I hadn't seen Tim for years, and he introduced me to Dave, who's now our drummer, who drums for Psychroptic and every other band in Melbourne and Australia. And he's like, oh, this is Dave, he's this amazing drummer, and if we ever get back together, he's going to drum. I'm like, whatever, sure, man, how you doing? It's never going to happen, but yeah, cool. Anyway, there ended up being this gig. It was like, raise money for the homeless in Melbourne. And we got contacted by, actually Rob, who's used to be our guitarist, is now our bass player, contacted me and said, hey, do you want to do the show? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. But I said, if you organise it all and get the band together and organise the rehearsals and whatever else, I mean, thinking that it wouldn't happen. Anyway, it did. And I'm like, okay. So we did the show. That went off really well. And then we started doing some live shows again, and they all went really down.
So when was this? Was this 2015, 16?
This is 20. I think it was like 2017.
Okay.
So yeah, the break was for like, so it was 2003 to 2017. So the break was for 14 years. Yeah, wow. Which is, yeah, I know.
Yeah, hey, like.
But it happens to a lot of bands. Like we spoke to David Wright from Heathen recently, and they had a 10-year break as well.
Yeah, right. Wow. Good old Heathen, eh? Fuck. No, they were back together.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's awesome because like I just discovered you like 3 days ago. Sean came up. Wow. Yeah, this cool Australian death metal band, and I opened up like awesome album. I was completely flashed. I love your stuff, and check now for the interview, of course. It had been formed in 1988, fucking 88. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty oldie, eh?
So how old were you when you first? How old were you when you started?
Just looking at your Mayhem shirt, it's like back in like Death Crush days and shit. So.
Yeah.
Fucking fully old school. Oh my god.
So how old were you when you started, Scott? Simon.
88. So I was 18.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When the band started. So that was at that time I started. I was already like in the metal scene from, I suppose, 84, 85, something like that, as an embryonic thrash scene in Melbourne. And 88, I met with some like, spooky underground friends who introduced me to the wonderful world of tape trading. And which is like where we got into those really early demos of like, we're very, very influenced by European more so than American. I honestly didn't even personally discover American stuff until years later. Like even like Metallica and Slayer and things like that, I never really came across. I was more after Iron Maiden. I went straight down the path of actually my gateway band into thrash was Halloween. Their first EP, and then I was like looking at the inside of like a noise sleeve, and then discovered like Creator and Frost and Destruction, and then eventually Bathory and all of that sort of stuff too was going on around that time in the late 80s. And then the crew that I was hanging around with introduced me to tape trading. And then with the underground audio cassette trading, which I tell my kids about and they find fucking hilarious. What? I'm like, we used to post it and wait for months for it to come back. And they're like, what?
Wow. Because I wanted to ask you how did you get exposed to music back then? Like, did you go to like, did they have metal at JB Hi-Fi or like?
There was no JB Hi-Fi then. It was. It didn't exist.
Wow. So you how do you get your tapes? So you sign up, is it a company that does that delivers these tapes to you, or is it just like person to person
snail mail? So I would write to you. Okay. So all right. So here's how it works for people. Introduction to tape trading 101. Here's how it used to work. So I would have my list. Okay. So on my list, I've got fucking whoever. I've got a list of like, say, 40 bands, something like that, of all their demo cassettes. And demos I might have had was like first demos of like Morbid Angel, Dismember, Unleashed, Grave, fucking et cetera, like whatever else from them back at the time. All of these bands pre actually releasing any studio albums. Wow. Then I'd write to you and I'd say, okay, here's my list. And then you mail me your list and I'd go, all right, sick. From your list, I don't have, fucking Early Carcass, Shubnik Urath and fucking this, whatever else too. And I'd go and tick all the bands. You get your TDK 1890s and you'd record all those demos for me. And then you'd send those cassettes to me with your list of what you want of my shit. And then I'd grab all my TDK 1890s and I'd record everything you want. But ye olde marketing as well too. So what we do is that you would have like a stack of flyers. So I've got my, looks like a receipt, but it's actually a flyer. So this is a flyer for the latest, disembowelment 7-inch, okay? And I'd like have 5 of those, and I'd have, 10 for like the new Necrotomy and 20 for Damaged and whatever else of all the local bands. And I'd shove that inside with some free stickers and how to get t-shirts and whatever else, post it back. So when you post out to you're made in Japan, you're made in Germany, you're made in the States, whatever, you chuck one of those flyers in each one. And that's how we all did our marketing back then. So everything was done by snail mail and everything was done by trust. So I would also trust too that if I sent you shit and sent your cassettes, that you would actually write me back, even though we've never met before. So it was like, it was a really, really like good honesty system. Like I reckon I got ripped off twice from 50 trades.
That's amazing. So like,
wow, it's incredible. And you can actually trade for shit as well too. So I could go, here's the new Archron 7-inch and a t-shirt, and I send it to you, and you send me back like a CD and a hoodie of your band or whatever else it is too. And we'd like just do stuff like that. So I'd like had other people I'd write to around the world, and then our bands would just like trade shirts, and then we'd like all be all underground and shit by like, you know, performing in each other's shirts from other countries and shit back in the day. So
I missed that. So I
was
born in 1984. So I fucking missed that. That sounds really cool, man. Like the good old days.
It was amazing. It was an amazing time, and like such good, you know, camaraderie and honesty and you know, this incredible sort of like marketing and pre-internet thing before anything internet, you know, like it was incredible. And you would sometimes get to talk to people, you know, like I used to write to the guys from OLD, Old Lady Drivers, and you know, there's a few other like underground grindcore bands and things like back in the day, and we'd swap numbers and stuff and then like call each other, which would cost like fucking heaps of money because of like, you know, shitty international calls back then, whereas like now it's free and we get to do this shit. But it was it was a truly amazing time. God, we segue so far off whatever your question was then.
Well, no, that's really, really, really interesting. And like, and how is it now? So now getting back into the scene again and like releasing that album. How has the whole landscape changed amongst the metal community? Are you guys all supportive of each other still?
Look, it's so different from back in the day, you know. Just look, okay, so technology for one, like, you know, so back in the day we'd like be doing, you know, shows in Richmond with, you know, you know, Bloodduster, Christbait, Necrotiny, whoever, like local bands and stuff we were playing with. So we'd pick someone. So say my bass player at the time was like quite good at putting flyers together. So we'd get like photocopy of their logo, actually, or a bromide, if you know what that is, and of all the different logos, and then put together some artwork, and you'd piece it all together like a fucking.
Hey, sorry, like, Simon. Hey, Fide. Good morning.
Oh, hey, hello.
Good morning. How you doing?
What's up?
Argentinian.
It's 6 a.m. for him, so yes. And he got daddy lately. So.
Good morning, Argentina.
A short night. So sorry.
How's
it going?
Good, brother. All good. Where were we? Putting together flyers for shows. Yeah. So we're talking about ye olde marketing, man. So you get all the flyers and stuff. You'd arrange it on like, you know, a piece of paper. So it's all set up with the flyers and some, you know, artwork of someone being disemboweled or some shit with, you know, where the show's at and the price, you know, $5 to get in for all these amazing bands.
Wow.
Then we'd go like down to whoever had access at their work from a photocopier, and we'd make like 100 copies, and you go around to the record stores and just like hand it out. And that was how we advertised shows.
That's how you did it. Wow.
We used to get more people to shows then than we get to people to shows now.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's fucking insane. It was just word of mouth and people seeing flyers and going, yeah, there's a show on. So
wow. Do you think people now have like metal at their fingertips so easily that they don't really need to go to these shows to get their metal fix? Like, how can you explain this?
Oh, look, I think that time of that time of the scene in the 90s was a you know, like it is for certain genres, it was a moment in time. So you know, people supported like the local metal scene a lot more back then. You got to also remember too, like we didn't really have internationals coming through back then. I suppose earlier on, it was like you know, you get the odd big act coming through, but that was
too far away
you
from
know,
those bands.
Yeah, you certainly didn't get any of those sort of like second tier, third tier, and now fourth, fifth, sort of whatever tier bands. Like there just wasn't that, you know. The scene didn't support stuff like that, you know. So it was either like really, really big international shows, or you know, you'd have local stuff. So people would support the local, and people would support metal pretty much regardless of what it was. So say for myself back then, I was just like death metal, and it's just like, oh, do you want to? And I'm like, no, it's gay. What about no? If it wasn't death metal, it could fuck off. So it was, you know, it just had to be brutal. But, you know, that being said, we would support and like, you know, suck it up and we'll go watch a thrash band. Or we'll go see a heavy metal band because they have friends, the drummer is playing in it, you know, or whatever else too. And we'd go and you would support. And a lot of people would do that and you would get the crossover and stuff too. And another thing that we used to do when we used to play shows back in the day was I would deliberately organise crossover shows. So we would play with, say, a hardcore band or like a crust grind sort of band, and then throw in another death metal band. And I don't know, for most people who go, it all sounds the same, but it was actually completely different scenes. So you'd actually like grab each one of those, throw them into a room together, and then hope that you'll get some sort of like cross-pollination out of some of the people. So then they would turn up to other shows, and it quite often worked, which was really cool. Yeah,
wow.
and plus you're not listening to the same shit all night. I mean, there's nothing, you know, you go to see a show and it's just got 5 death metal bands. It's like, all right, you know, unless you're really into it, it all sort of sounds the same. But it's nice to actually break it up a little bit too, and you got, you know, a bit of this, bit of that, whatever else going on.
Definitely. Yeah, so that's quite a cool like snapshot of what the metal scene was like in Australia. So you got the really big ones, and then you've got like the local kind of underground. That's really interesting. And
that was it.
yeah.
And this is all like, even, you know, when we were like playing there, this is all like even before, I suppose, early 90s and things like that too, was like first big day out, you know, and the first of those festivals and things actually starting to happen in Australia. But before that, there was nothing, you know. We'd look to what was happening, you know, over in Germany and what was happening in the UK, and just like, how amazing, I get to see all these incredible bands. We never had anything like that. Or if you did, it was just, you know, just rock bands and whatever else. So
right. And how is the scene today, actually?
Well, there is no scene anything.
Can you guys play yet?
Well, until March of last year, at least.
Yeah. Oh, look. I suppose just prior to that, it's been okay. The last show we played with Dark Funeral and Immolation, and that was really good, because I've been a fan of Immolation since their first demo. So it was pretty cool to play with them. Super exciting, and meet the guys and have a talk. I was like, oh, you know, it was nice to be I very rarely get to have a fanboy moment, and I was just like, fuck, it's Immolation and we're playing with them. Oh my God. You know, we play with a lot of other big internationals, and I'm like, whatever, I don't really give a shit. But it's some of those small sort of niche bands that like really got me into death metal. That's exciting, you know, for me anyway. So yeah, look, that was the last show we did. That was pretty cool. They were, you know, healthy shows and everything else too. Good turnout.
Where did they play?
Melbourne was at Max Watts, which used to be Hi-Fi Bar on Swanson Street in the city. And Sydney and Brisbane, I don't remember.
It doesn't matter.
Stuff. But it was look, it was lots of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And I read that you guys toured with like Cannibal Corpse as well, and Morbid Angel, Dayside, Napalm Death.
We've done a bunch. We've done a couple of tours with Morbid, a couple of tours with Cradle, Carcass, Cathedral, Paradise Lost, fucking pretty much everyone. I used to work for a record company and was like distributing pretty much every metal label when I was there. So whenever we had shows coming through, plus I was buddies with all of the, you know, international labels at, you know, Metal Blade and Century Media and Relapse and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So whenever we had bands coming through town, it was like we would jump on those tours. It didn't hurt that I was like working at the record company. Hang on, it's my daughter. I have to check this.
No worries, man.
She trumps you guys. We hang here at Park Templestowe.
We will cut this out in post-processing.
Yeah, no, it's all right. What's the time? Home by 9.
What you're drinking?
Me? Coffee, man. It's 10:30 in the morning. Not really an excuse, but you know. Where's your mate, Fede? Are you drinking mate?
I'm gonna make it in a couple of minutes.
It's just
when I really wake up.
Yeah.
I'm back.
All right, cool.
So your daughter is in metal as well? What does your daughter think about metal, about your music?
What was that, sorry?
What does your daughter think about metal and about your music?
Yeah, she finds it, she thinks it's sort of cool that her dad sings in a death metal band. My daughter's 15, by the way, 16 this year, and I have a son who's 11. They think it's amusing. Her friends who are like, into sort of like punk and light metal and stuff think it's like pretty cool. But she's, it's not something that she would listen to. Far from it. My wife thinks it's horrific, and just looks at my lyrics and just doesn't want to know about it. So where does this come from? Who are you? And yeah, but it's you know, it is what it is, you know. And we've always been you know, absolutely uncompromising, brutal death metal, and that's what we are, you know. And I'm not about to change that. It's
I love it. I love it.
I remember actually at that, I think it was at that first show back, or one of the second ones we did 20 years ago. He's like, oh, how do you go now as a dad? Like, do you find that you've had to like rein in your lyrics and you're sort of like, you know, taking it a little bit easier? And I'm like, dude, I'm fucking heaps worse than I used to be. I've had like this really long period of time to like, you know, digest some, because all I read is horror and watch horror and draw horror. And I've just like, you know, got this, you know, huge array of ideas and things and whatever else too. So when it actually came to doing Never Enough Snuff, like I had a massive amount of ideas for lyrical content. So I certainly didn't struggle there. It was just like, you know, yeah, just dumped.
Yeah, I saw one of your lyric videos as well for I think it was for the title track on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
So that's cool, because you know it's usually very difficult to understand what is being said in death metal.
Yeah.
So to have it all displayed.
Yeah, it is with a lot of death metal bands. I mean, especially on I think really early recordings, like say for the Transgression EP. Sorry, hang on.
No, it's all good, man. All good.
I'm going to write that. All good. There you go. All right, turning it on silent. So for the Transgression EP, I suppose it was just a matter of like, and for what death metal was back then too, was like going as heavy as possible. I think like back then we were probably listening to, you know, fucking Zizma, early Carcass, early, just really deep fucking, just, you know, tuned down to fucking, you could use it as a whatever else. But it's as we sort of like progressed over the years, I worked a lot on trying to keep it as heavy as possible, but trying to make sure that people can understand what I'm saying. I mean, I spent a lot of time actually writing my lyrics, and I want people to know what I'm saying. So
yeah, definitely.
Fast forward to Never Enough Snuff. I have actually tried to, yeah, as I said, make it as heavy as fuck, but also like get that diction in there too, so people can.
Oh, you can definitely understand with
and
that.
I quite often compare it to talking to someone with an accent. So if you talk to someone, say, with a really thick Irish accent, or a thick, you know, German accent, or an Argentinian accent, or whatever it might be, you struggle to start with, but once you get what they're saying, it's just like, right, got it. And I find that similar with death metal. If you can like read a couple of the lyrics and like pick up on what the person's saying, and you're like, oh yeah, and then your ear catches on, and it's just like, right, okay, I've got it. You mightn't catch every word, but you'll get the gist of like the bulk of what.
That's a very interesting perspective. I've never thought of it like that. That's really interesting. Yeah.
I remember that the singer of Obituary said that the voice at the first albums, especially the voice of a death metal band, in that case, it sounds like an instrument, not really a voice.
Very,
you know, it's like,
yeah, very much so.
It doesn't care really if somebody understands, because sometimes it's just shout.
Yeah, and I have quite often compared it to that as well too, as of having that having it there as an additional instrument to bring that additional heaviness to it. I mean, the music's as heavy as fuck anyway, but to, you know, to get it there to really like, you know, drag it down that little bit more in a good way, of course. But
it makes like your identity also.
Yeah, very much so. And it matches too. I mean, the other thing is too, we're trying to be heavy as fuck in every capacity, you know, musically, and then with you know, with the vocals, make the lyrics as nasty as possible, and for the latest album, making the artwork as nasty as possible too, which was quite enjoyable. Have you guys seen the proper artwork?
Yeah. Well, the album cover. Yeah, man.
But have you seen the proper album cover?
What do you mean by proper?
Depends how you define proper.
Oh, well, there's two covers. There's the digital cover, which is the decomposing head side on, and there's another one inside. Have you seen a physical copy?
No, I haven't.
I want to ask you. I want to ask you about the support of the level, of the record level.
Hang on 1 second.
Wow.
So this. I don't know how well this is going to come out, but this is the proper album cover.
Oh, beautiful.
Wow.
I want
I
that.
haven't seen that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that was like Never Enough Snuff, and I actually like got to recreate a snuff film for the album cover.
Is that?
But then there was no
Tim?
way that we could actually release that and put it in stores or have that. There's no way we would have got it up onto any of Spotify or any of the digitals. So we had to come up with a second cover in order to do it. So
I've seen the second cover then.
The original. That's
yeah,
original.
and when you do actually get a proper one, and then like on the inside too, there's, I know you can't see it, but there's all the photos of which it looks like a full-on crime scene. So that's all.
Oh God.
That's all Tim and his girlfriend Michelle,
I got to order one of those just
who we got to hack up, which was awesome. Yeah. So I've got a good friend of mine who does like proper special effects makeup for movies and film, and she's like really fucking good. I mean, like her and her team won like I can't remember the name of the awards, but they won the award last year for the best in hair and makeup in Australia. So she got to do all the special effects. I've got another friend who's a really good photographer, and I went to both of them and said, look, I want to do this. And they're like, okay. And so we set up a snuff dungeon in her garage and went for
it. Looks cool, man.
Yeah. Anyway. All very tongue-in-cheek from our perspective if you're into death metal and stuff, but if you're not, it's like, of course we're concerned.
Yeah.
I want to know about the support that you have from the record label
for the new album.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So, well, nothing really so far. So we've self-released. We did pitch it out to a few labels, and we had a few labels come back to us too and said, look, love the album, great stuff, everything else too, but unless you're over here in the States or Europe and touring it, then nah. And I'm like, that's cool. I get it, and I understand what, how it is in this day and age, because it's, and physical not being what it was anymore, as in physical media, CDs, vinyl, all that sort of bizzo. And that's not how they can really capitalize on sales now. It is very much digital, bloody taking a clip of the ticket on merchandise and all of those sorts of things too, of what they'll get at, international concerts. I get it. It's cool. Dave, who our drummer who plays with Psychroptic, like he lives that, and he goes and he tours and does all of the things that he does. But like, married with kids, and I just don't really want to. So I don't. And we just do what we do and just like, keep it domestic. So But we have had some interest from some internationals recently, and it looks like we will finally be released in Europe. But there's this fucking pandemic, and it's been causing a lot of problems. And,
well, you know what, man? I can start handing out flyers over here in Budapest. Going back to the old school way. Yeah. Yeah, man. Are you gonna be touring? Like, can you play live venues at the moment in Melbourne? Is that still off limits?
After midnight tonight, you can play to I don't know, 30 people.
Really?
And the rules are changing weekly. Like, it's so hard to peg anything down. I mean, that album came out, almost a year ago now, and we haven't done one show since to support it, And it's not like we don't want to. Like, we're chomping at the bit to fucking get out there and play some shows, but we just can't. And if we're going to get together and rehearse and do everything else too, it's not going to be for a show, like we want to at least do East Coast Melbourne, probably Adelaide, scoot down to Tassie again, maybe WA, see how things pan out. But we want to do a national tour, and we just can't. You can't even plan a local show at the moment, because I could say, okay, in 6 weeks' time we're doing a show. We start advertising, and then the fucking government just says, nah, lockdown again, and that's it. And everything that you've done has gone to waste again. So until we get like a little bit more you know, stability in our lives. And I know that's happening all over. It's like it's really, really awkward for people to do anything. And I don't want to go out and do a show for like, you know, a small amount of people. And, you know, it's just sort of like, it's a waste of everyone's time. It's like, you know, vibe and it's just fucking waste of our time. And it's, you know, not.
I can see how it's frustrating because you can't not just play, but you can't even plan. So it's, you know, at least if you can't play, you can plan, but you can't plan, so you can't really do anything.
So it's been very much a matter of relying on, you know, working the new album, doing some new merch, you know, or originally releasing those first couple of singles leading up to it, and then putting the album out there, doing some merch, doing some like, you know, little bundles and things like that too, and just sort of like promoting that. In other news, don't tell anyone, but the boys have been writing another album. So yeah, well, nothing else to do in fucking lockdown. So,
exactly,
so
man.
There's a,
awesome.
There's yeah, I know. It's like you don't do anything for 20 years, and then next minute you're bloody writing an album every year. So,
yeah, man, you're back.
So
cool.
You know, that's happening in the background. I don't know how and when all of that's going to happen, but it is humming away in the background. Matt's been particularly busy in writing new material. Tim's got some stuff. Rob's got some stuff as well too. And the last I heard, they were filtering that stuff over to Dave to start getting his head around to start working out beats.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, wow. Which means I have to start thinking of some disgusting lyrics again.
Yeah.
So, we'll see how we go. But,
that's cool. So potentially like another album, like.
Yeah, look, yeah. And we did the, I don't know if you saw the film clip that we did for Full Gore Whore, which was sort of more just a live sort of band, because we'd never done a video clip before, and we had an opportunity to do one. So we thought, well, let's have a crack at that. And then we thought we'd do a second one off the album, which we'd sort of planned and started like working on, but then once again, that fucking pandemic is just like, So that's sort of like, you know, put a bit of dampener on things, and that's been on the back bench. But hopefully that'll happen again at some stage. And if we've got the Euro release coming up too, I'd like to back it up with a fresh video. And I've got some really good ideas for like a little mini horror film I want to make. So
sounds good.
Without getting arrested. So that's like plotting around in my mind at the moment. So
because you guys like your first album was banned, wasn't it, in Australia for like lyrical content?
Lyrical content. It was at that time when, you know, the government went all fucking handbaggy and decided to like, you know, ban a heap of shit. So there was like I think it was Cannibal Corpse, Tomb of the Mutilated, Pungent Stench, Bean Court Buttering, Autopsy, Severed Survival. I can't believe I remember all this shit. I was working in the record industry at the time, so I remember like a heap of stuff, like we had to, you know, rework artwork and whatever else too. But then my own album got banned, which is hilarious. So and that was for lyrical content. So then we re-released that album with the first EP with Transgression without lyrics, and just combined the two things together and put them out there, and that, you know, did all right by itself.
Yeah. Wow,
but,
that's crazy.
Yeah, which is hilarious. Of like, well, it went on back then, you know, because like if you check out the lyrics in Neverenoughsnuff, like personally, I think they're fucking heaps more brutal than anything I've done in the past. But it just, you know, in this day and age, it just slides under the radar.
Yeah.
No
well,
problem at all.
That's good. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. But it's
So what were you doing anything musical in the 14-year break? Like
I wasn't personally. The other guys were like, Matt was over in the UK playing in bands. Dave wasn't even with us then, but he was doing all the things that Dave does. Rob had, I think, a couple of projects going on, and Tim had played with a bunch of different bands. He was like, you know, around the time that we finished up, he was playing with the Berserker for a while, and then we played with I don't even know, because I wasn't in the scene at the time. I'd like, you know, carried out for a while, so I don't know who was doing what. But no, I wasn't. I was just like, you know, doing gathering information for disgusting lyrics.
Yeah.
And that was all. I got nothing there. Yeah.
Simon, all of
How
you
was it
are
actually?
in, sorry, all of you are in Melbourne.
Yes.
All the band.
Yeah. We actually all started off in the same suburb when we first got going.
Which suburb?
A little
Northcote?
suburb called Montmorency, in between Greensboro and Eltham.
Montmorency.
Montmorency. It's also in France, but it's
I never heard of that suburb.
Yeah, have you heard of Greensboro or Eltham?
Yeah. Heidelberg,
so it's
Greensboro,
in between those two suburbs. This tiny little suburb, with just in the outer northeastern suburbs, and the whole band was from there.
Cool.
Go figure. except for our drummer who was from elsewhere, but yeah, so all Melbourne based and always have been Melbourne based. It makes it too awkward to have like members interstate or anything else too. I mean, Australia is pretty fucking big, and your closest city's like 1,000 kilometers away. So to try and get together for rehearsals is just awkward.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When you were talking about the capacity of the venues nowadays, with the crowd, I was thinking just a couple of weeks ago about the Australian Open. It was like, I don't know, 1,000 people in the finals. I think, why cannot you cannot play a gig, with more people or something? Yeah,
don't even get the people of Melbourne started on that. There's like tens of thousands of Australians stuck overseas who can't get back in, but the government managed to fly in a whole lot of tennis players as essential workers to be able to come in and do their job. So
ridiculous.
It's a bit of a sore spot for a lot of people, and for what, to boost the economy. No one's allowed to go to the fucking tennis anyway. And like you said, there's 1,000 people in there, great, in a venue that holds 20,000 or whatever it might be. So they're socially distanced. So,
but that's the thing with Australian culture. Like, we value sport more than anything else, more than music. Yeah. So like, I remember when back in like April or May, like when the AFL season was trying to continue, they opened the borders for AFL players, but touring musicians that wanted to maybe play a show in Melbourne or Sydney, they weren't allowed. I'm like, fuck, man, like, that really shows you where our values are as Australians, that we value sport more than music, more than the arts or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's
I know. Look, it's a whole world of bullshit, as it has been for so many countries, and a lot of the crap that's come out, And once again, I don't really. I've got some pretty strong views on the whole thing, and I don't really want to get stuck into it because, as I said, it's going to turn into a slag fest of how fucked our government is.
We can maybe save that for another time.
PM me later.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right.
What else?
So anyway, I'm looking forward to your new stuff. I'm really looking forward to getting into your latest album, because it's been a while since I listened to you guys, to be honest. From a teenager up until recently. And I really want to see you guys get back into performing. And if I'm back in Melbourne, I would love to go see you guys play somewhere. I've never seen you before.
That's been really interesting, actually, that whole thing too, because we had like such a long break. We had a lot of fans who were sort of 16, 17, and then we did our last show and they never got to see us live. And I've had a bunch of people come up to me and go, "Oh man, I'm such a huge fan, I never got to see you guys live." And I've got this amusing anecdote. Well, I think it's amusing anyway. I said, spare a thought for Dave, our drummer. He's like the biggest ABRAMELIN fan and never ever got to see us live, and he never will.
He's playing for you now, yeah?
Exactly.
You're making him work. Work for it.
Poor bastard. So anyway, there's that. But
crazy. How was it that you found your voice actually in the early days back? In the early days, it was not a clear path to get a proper death metal voice out, there was no technique taught or something like that. Everybody had to find its own way. Like, how was it for you?
Challenging. If you listen to our discography and listen to that first demo from '88, it's a very different voice to what it is as it sort of like progresses through to the latest album now. Look, you go through quite a bit of pain, physical pain, in sort of, and it depends like what you want to do too. Like when I sing, I sing about there. A lot of death metal vocals will do this, or they'll sing like really close and cup and whatever else too, to try and get that really, deep. Whereas I more like deep abdominal and do sweat like a motherfucker when I play, like for me, it's like it's like a workout. It is a really, really tough physical thing to like, to go through and do a show and to dig that deep and like, just pull the sound up from my toenails to blah, and fucking and spit it out at the peeps. But it took a while. And then also too, just from being deep, but then being deep. And as I said earlier too, trying to get that enunciation in as well too, so people can actually understand what the fuck you're saying. So that's an additional challenge as well. And then whenever we have one of these breaks, well, actually the big break, I suppose, was the worst. That first rehearsal that we did, mate, I think the next day I couldn't talk. Like it was just, I'd been throat fucked with a cheese grater. I was just, so sore. So it's, and then even now too, because we haven't done anything for so long, I haven't even seen the guys for months and months and months. So like now when we get back and we finally do those first rehearsals, I know what it's going to be like. If you've ever done any gym training, I always say to people, it's like squats. If you haven't done heavy squats with a dumbbell for a while and you walk back into the gym and load up exactly the same weight you were on last time, you're going to fucking walk like a sodomized cowboy for about a week. So same thing with singing death metal, like if you haven't done it for a while, it's just like, this is going to fucking hurt. And it doesn't matter what you do, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But, you do a few rehearsals and things like that too, and then it gets used to it again, and then it's all right. And then I can just go and do like, multiple shows and it's fine.
Yeah, right. Got one of the best voices. So, like, from my opinion, one of the best voices out there.
I think so too. Good call.
Do you discover new death metal bands or slam bands, or do you follow the scene actively?
I didn't for a while I was out. I'd listen to all my old school shit. Just all my old favorites from back in the day, like early Entombed and Carnage, and a lot of stuff from around. I love Swedish death metal. I reckon it's
right.
But I didn't for a really long time, and then I think like once we started playing and everything else too, and doing more shows, then Dave actually predominantly was like, oh, check this out, and started like playing me some new stuff. Who is this band Decapitating Cattle? And who is this? So on and so forth. Actually listening to new stuff, I'm like, wow. It's like it's actually evolved, which is like really, really cool to hear with some of the bands. A lot of stuff still sort of sounds same-ish, but then it's crazy to hear like, the directions that of like, some of the death metal's gone in. Some of it I think is overcomplicated, but for my ears personally. Which is, and we do what we do. We're old school and we love it. I like this.
Cool. Awesome.
Keeping it simple, and not really, not that we, I'm not up for trying anything new, but I just, I like what we do. I get like really good satisfaction out of it. And especially having not done it for a really long time, I didn't know if I'd really enjoy it. I thought I'll do it as a bit of a, shits and giggles and see what happens. And once I was up there doing it again, I was just like, this is fun. So
yeah, man.
Cool. Awesome. Okay.
You can get some fun here in South America soon. Well,
sorry,
summer. Hope you can get some fun next tour here in South America too.
I hope we can get anywhere. I'd be happy to play in Sydney at the moment. I'd be happy to play in Melbourne. Like it's. Look, I wouldn't say that anything international would be completely out of the question. I mean, it is something, because the guys have all done it in the past. I think I'm the only one in the band who hasn't played internationally. They all have. So with other bands and, so on and so forth. Yeah. But it's just fucking who knows what's going to happen with international travel for a while, at least for the next, 12 to 24 months. I reckon it's going to be pretty awkward. So, I'll just be happy to start doing some local shows again and, get those out of the way and get in front of our local fans, which is where our sort of like core base is anyway. So it'd be good to reconnect with those people and hurl some abuse at them.
Have you thought about some YouTube live performance or something like that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a personal trainer as well too. And then during lockdown, I wasn't, because I do like group training in the park, so I wasn't able to do that. And I had to do like, I've just been running Zoom classes, you know, making people do burpees and shit on camera. It's just not the same. Same with like doing a live show as well. For us to like, I suppose, just set up in like a rehearsal type scenario and just like belt out something. It's like, yeah, it's something, and it gives the fans something to check out and everything else too. But that's just not really our thing, you know. We even doing another album, I mean, like, fuck, you know, like 32 years or 33 years of fucking death metal, and what do we got? 3 albums. Like, clearly, even going to the studio isn't really our thing. It's like, it's always been about the live performance, and that's what we've always done, you know. So,
cool.
Yeah. Trying to do something in that is just, yeah, it sort of just seems a little bit meh to me.
Fair enough.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, do you guys have any other questions?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Simon, man.
No worries. Thank you. Really nice to meet you boys, and best of luck with all your lockdown and all the hoo-ha over there. I hope it's you guys get some relief soon and life gets some sort of.
You too, man. Like, it was awesome speaking to you, and I'm really like excited about your future now. The next couple of years.
Thought there would be one.
It's funny how life is, though, isn't it? Like, you never know like what's gonna happen, what's around the corner. But thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I really appreciate it.
No worries, man.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Simon.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Simon, thank you. I discovered a new band now. Thank you so much.
See ya.
See ya.